Hi, folks. This is Mike Cherry for Capitol Cinemas, Main Street here in Princeton, of course, with some disturbing news from our standpoint. Those of you know, and if you don't know, you'll find out real quick, I'm sure. There was a main water break in downtown Princeton this Tuesday afternoon, early afternoon, and the Capitol Cinemas is basically flooded on all our low spots. Particularly our basement is water up to the knees, up to the waist. And the cleanup job is tremendous, and we don't expect to be finished with the cleanup and repair where necessary until Friday afternoon. And then we anticipate going back to our regular weekend schedule. And here it is in Cinema One. Smallfoot PG full-length animated cartoon that shows Friday at 6:45 and 9:15, Saturday 1:45, 4:15, 6:45, and 9:15, Sunday 1:45, 4:15, and 6:45. That's Smallfoot, rated PG, 1 hour and 40 minutes. A lot of major stars play the voices on that animated movie. Cinema 2, Unbroken, The Path to Redemption, PG-13. It shows Friday at 6:45, 9:15, Saturday 1:45, 4:15, 6:45, 9:15, Sunday 1:45, 4:15, and 6:45. Unbroken, a true story of American hero during World War II and afterwards. Unbroken, The Path to Redemption, PG-13. And in Cinema 3 for the last week, The Nun, horror terror movie that's getting a lot of action in our locale. The Nun shows same times as Smallfoot. Friday 6:45, 9:15, Saturday 1:45, 4:15, 6:45, 9:15, and Sunday 1:45, 4:15, and 6:45. That's the latest. Stay tuned, because if we get back in operation earlier than Friday, we will let you know. In the meantime, Capitol Cinemas closed till Friday afternoon, and if you've forgotten all that schedule I just gave you, don't forget our 24-hour show info number, 365-7900. We'll keep it up to date. That's it. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
The doctor is in at Health First Community Health Center. Dr. Jamie Perry is ready to care for the community, providing primary care services at 1100 South Jefferson Street here in Princeton. Dr. Perry is accepting new patients, and walk-ins are always welcome. At Health First Community Health Center, we are not just another doctor's office, we are your medical home. Call us toll-free at 1-877-667-7017.
Since 1978, Perry's Floors & More has been selling, installing, and servicing homeowners throughout Western Kentucky with quality flooring and workmanship. Perry's Floors & More carries luxury vinyl plank and luxury vinyl tile, carpet, window treatments, and more. Brands like Mannington, Shaw, Target, Beaulieu, and Flexitech. Quality brands, excellent customer service, combined with 40 years experience is why they say you can walk on our reputation. See Bill and Lucy at Perry's Floors & More, 127 West Market Street, Princeton.
Good morning. It's 8:37, and we're talking Ghost Walk this morning. Robert Ward, Maggie, Gammon are here, and I just was looking at the forecast. I know this event's outside Saturday night. Saturday night's low, 55.
All right.
Is that acceptable, Robert?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my goodness. Well, before we talk about Ghost Walk, it was so interesting to me. You actually arrived where the genealogy records, the genealogy library, and we had a water main break yesterday, Robert, and you said by the time you got there, the waters were rising.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me of the old song, "How High is the Water, Papa?"
You said it could always be worse. You said, thank goodness we're not suffering from Hurricane Florence or anything. But, gosh, I could just hear the heartbreak. That's it's priceless, some of those items. And I know there was some water damage, but how are things looking today?
Well, we still haven't got all the way back to where everything is. There's still a little water standing. They quit pumping sometime after 9:30 last night.
Yeah.
And there's still water to be pumped out today. So also waiting on the insurance company to see what they'll do. We may be able to salvage a lot of the things that are down there. It's going to be up to what happens today. I do know that if things stand in water, or the water goes down, even if they stand wet very long, they'll begin to mildew and mold, and there won't be a thing we can do with it then.
About how high did that water get from
the
water main break?
I should have measured.
So it's hard to tell, isn't it?
It's hard to tell, but I know for certain it was at least 5 feet deep in there. I think there's a dozen or more steps going down, and it got to the top of the 4th step and was coming to the 3rd thereabouts. When the water department got their end of it slowed down to where the 2 little old pumps we put in there, which were pumping out 2-inch streams began to take hold, and you could see the water begin to go down. And first it was a 1/4 inch, and you're thinking, okay, we're making progress, and then it's 3/4, and then I mean it's slow, but it's
watching
working,
grass grow.
Yeah. Well, it was. It was like watching paint dry, but it was working out, and so.
But
anyway,
when you got there, the water was going the other way. You were making plans to. You talked about taking out a file drawer or something.
Up in the upper floor,
Yeah.
we've got one part there that's a like a cold storage area. Paper tends not to rot at certain temperatures, and so we have one area that has its own system. And we were making plans to pull the bottom filing cabinet drawers out, and there's some old county records there, and these huge books that weigh, Maggie can attest to this, she's looked in a lot of them
about
too.
20 pounds.
They weigh about 20 pounds apiece, and
Goodness.
we were beginning to try to find, where are we going to put
And of course,
these.
you're full of
Yeah, and
items.
we're
So
full.
where do you go with these things,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
Oh,
anyway,
my
it's
goodness.
it's made for an interesting time up there. But
For a minute, I kind of panicked because I know some of the costumes affected were used in previous Ghost Walks, but you're telling me that won't impact the Ghost Walk Saturday.
No, it will not. Everybody has pretty much got what we need, and a lot of times the individual furnishes their own costume anyway. But we just had some extra things that had been donated by different folks at different times, and there some of them were really, really nice. And so I'm kind of waiting to see how that's going to work out. But anyway, it is what it is. So we'll deal with it.
Now, Maggie, the Ghost Walk Saturday,
Ghost Walk.
Sponsored by
Caldwell County Genealogy Society. This is our 10th year.
Now
our
explain
10th annual.
the 10th. Explain, if I've never been to Ghost Walk before, and I attend this Saturday, where do I go and what am I going to experience?
Okay. First thing, we recommend people make reservations for a different spot on the tour. We have tours that leave, tour groups, about 20 to 25 people, guided tour through the cemetery. They leave starting at 6 o'clock, leave every 15 minutes or so. 9 o'clock would be the last one. And I will say right now, before I forget, the 6 o'clock and the 7:30 time slots are full. So those slots are already taken. It happens at Cedar Hill Cemetery, the main cemetery here in Princeton. And
And it's after dark.
Yeah.
It's getting close.
We start when
I
we
would
start.
love
Yeah,
the early one.
yeah. When we start at 6, it's still a little bit light,
Yeah.
but I think by the 7 o'clock group, it's starting to get twilight and dark this time of year. So
Yeah.
that adds to the atmosphere. The paths are lighted. We have luminaries set out along the pathway that we go, and we have lanterns at the different grave marker stations. It's not a scary event. It's a historical event.
So it's not like a spook
It's
house deal.
It's not a spooky thing at all. It's historical, which is why we encourage young people to come. We basically, our visitors will meet people from Princeton's past and hear their stories. And that's one of the founding principles of the Genealogy Society. One of our co-founders, Robert and Richard Papoul, were the co-founders of the Caldwell County Genealogy Society. And Richard has always had 2 maxims. The first is everyone has a story. Some are more interesting than others, but everybody's got a story. And the second is we die twice. Once when our corporal body is gone, and the other is the last time someone speaks your name. So one of the things that we do is we make sure that people's names are spoken. We make sure their stories are heard. We want people to remember who's been here before us.
Evidently, there were some characters in Princeton.
We've had a few. One of our, Linda and I call them residents. They're not really ghosts, they're residents. They're just old friends of ours. One of the ladies that will be portrayed this year, her husband was involved in the infamous duel in downtown Princeton. And for many years we had Mr. Daniel and Colonel Pickering, who were the participants of the duel. We had them every year. Unfortunately, our Mr. Daniel is out of town this weekend, and Colonel Pickering Mr. Daniel is the one who moved away.
Yeah.
We lost our leading actor for Ed Daniel. So this year we're doing Mrs. Daniel by herself. And
this was not a duel fought with water pistols.
No, this was a gunfight.
Yeah.
We actually reenacted the gunfight.
Did that a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
In the exact building.
In the exact building where it happened.
So it was an inside deal.
Yeah.
It wasn't like out on Main Street or.
It was.
Wow.
It was two friends who got into a feud. It was almost like our version of Hatfield McCoy, and one chased the other. It was at Old String Beans is where it occurred.
Oh, where the coffee shop
used to be a dry
is,
goods shop. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so.
Nobody to this day knows why.
What
happened. They
So
don't
we're
know.
going to be interested to find out what Mrs. Daniels'
Maybe
side
she
of the
knows
story
why.
is, because
Maybe
she was.
she
I think she was there when it happened.
She
so.
was. They were both in there. And so.
Wow, that's great. And so when you have guides, and there'll be a group of however many people, guide in front, guide in the back,
right?
And they'll kind of help you weave your way through the cemetery.
We
Exactly.
I think we have at least 9 or 10 places stops along the way. Let's see what was
We had 10 till the other day. We kind of lost one.
Yeah, I think we might have
we
lost one.
may be able to find somebody to take their place.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We've asked around, and the characters. Linda spends a lot of time through the year, just different times, looking for a character to do, and they have to be buried in a certain path up there. We don't want to take people out into the cemetery. But we will mark the grave of the person if they're very far off the road, where they can say, "And this is where I'm buried."
And that's actually the spot. Yeah.
And that's actually the spot the person is. And we've had different ones, different times, want us to do different characters in the county. Well, that's okay, but that's not why we started this out.
Right.
Why we started this out was to do the ones up there.
One of our ground rules is that the person that we're doing does have to be buried there at Cedar Hill.
I got you.
So
it kind of
that's
narrows
why
down
we call them the residents. Yeah.
the folks that you do, and so the actors are just given some of the highlights of the person's life that they're reenacting, and then they kind of take it from there.
Pretty much.
Linda does some basic research, finds out at least one interesting thing about the person, and some biographical background, dates, connections to the community, whatever. And then each of us that do the reenactments just kind of fill in the gaps. This year I'll be doing Mrs. Kelly again. Myra Kelly and her husband, I can't remember his name now.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Kelly. She
Mr.
called him
Kelly
Mr.
today.
She calls him Mr. Kelly.
Yeah.
They lost 6 children to the influenza epidemic.
Oh, wow.
100 years ago this November. And I've portrayed Mrs. Kelly several times before. The first time Linda gave me the information, we got the kids' names, and I think we were able to pull up their death certificates. And from that, I just sat there one night, looked in a darkened room, and said, "Okay, Mrs. Kelly, I need to know about your kids." And things just started coming to help me, because it's the children I want to remember.
Right,
So
sure.
I'll be talking about the children.
And it's
so.
very the actors are very conversational.
Yes.
Conversations. It's not scripted. We have information. Of course, we try to hit the highlights at least, but it's more of a conversation. It's like, oh, you're out walking through the cemetery tonight. Well, I am too. Let me tell you about my family. Let me tell you about what happened to me. So it's just meeting people.
What are some of the comments from first timers who go through the Ghost Walk? What do you hear after they experience it?
Well, the best one we ever heard, the first year we did the 2 Cox sisters. I can't remember their first names either. I'm getting old. I can't remember names. Robert and Linda's granddaughters portrayed them, and they were murdered by, allegedly, their father's girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
Arsenic poisoning. They were 12 and 17.
Something like
something
that.
like
10,
that.
10 and 17.
10 and 17. I can't remember the ages now.
One of them had just got out.
But they told their
graduated high school.
story, and the comments we were hearing after they got done, people were mad because the woman that had been charged with the murders was acquitted.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody believed she did it.
Mm-hmm.
And the people hearing these girls' stories were mad, and we kept hearing things like, they need to reinvestigate that. Something's wrong there. We need to find
It's a cold case.
Yeah, yes. It was
And this happened in about
in
1936, 38,
or
along
something.
in there.
But you
Happened in the
can't.
30s.
We were talking before we went on the air. You can't. You could not sit down and write a piece of fiction that would be exactly some of these stories. People would say that it's not believable. But the truth, you said, Robert, is stranger than fiction. This really happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done, we always try to do at least a couple of veterans. And this year we're doing Mr. Ritchie, who was in the Argonne Forest during World War I.
Oh, wow.
And who's the other one that we're doing? Do we have another vet? I can't remember.
I can't either right now. Some of them's a secret to me.
Yeah.
You'll have to go through the walk, Robert.
Don't worry. I'm doing the legwork this
Yeah.
year.
Are you?
I'm not doing a character,
Yeah,
and that's
he's not a
probably
character
good
this
thing.
year.
I'm character anyway, but this year I'm not a character in the Ghost Walk.
You'll get to
There,
join.
I do want to say, while he's saying that, there's a lot of people behind the scenes
Yes.
that put this on.
It would have to be, and I would think you'd have to have actors of all ages to
we
pull
need
this off.
we need people to play characters. Sometimes we have people that say they're going to, and then something happens and they can't. We've had to scrub a couple of spots every now and then. But we need guides. We need people to help with the parking. The city has been great with making sure that, with designated areas for parking.
Sure.
So we have to have somebody help with that because we have to keep it as controlled as possible. The park closes, the cemetery closes at 5, and there's no car traffic allowed up there at that point. So that kind of helps. We have to
And the
make sure
Ghost Walk begins at 6. You
it
got an
begins
hour.
at 6. Yeah.
And in that hour, there's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do.
I bet that's a hectic hour.
Yeah, it's not a quick tour. It takes at least an hour to get through the whole thing.
And it's all walking. We don't have any, so unfortunately, we have no provision for the handicapped folks. Now, people can push the wheelchairs along, or if they've got the motorized type, that, everybody is welcome. We tried it one year with golf carts and different things, and it just didn't work out.
Right.
The paths are narrow and uneven, and if someone has difficulty walking, like they're using a cane or a walker, sometimes it's not safe.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. Now, how are you on volunteers for the event Saturday night? Do you need any help?
we could use some more guides.
A few guides,
We could use a couple more guides. We had some that, for various reasons, weren't able to help us out. If anybody wants to be a guide, they can call me.
Now, do you have to be a genealogy expert?
Oh,
No.
Lord,
Oh,
no. No. You got to be able to walk.
Got to be able to walk. All right, yeah, what's the qualifications? Walk, okay.
Walk, but you usually we work them in pairs, like you said earlier. We got one at the
One
head,
to lead and one to
and
herd.
they'll say, "Okay, we're going to move on," and the other one's kind of, because some of the characters take a little bit longer than others, but you've got to kind of keep moving so that you can work another group in there.
Some people have a tendency to want to stay behind and talk to the person, like, "Oh, I really enjoyed that story," or "I have a question about."
Oh, yeah.
We've got to keep it moving, or we
For the next group, yeah.
for the next group. So
I had one guy one year said, "There's my mailman right there." Somebody else said, "Not today, he's not."
Today is not.
Ixnay on the mailman. That is awesome. So if I want to just participate, do I make a donation, or how much per ticket, or is it, how does that work?
Good point. It's $5 per person.
Okay.
And children 12 and under are free, but they must be accompanied by a responsible adult.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But it is kid-friendly. Like we said, we don't reach out and grab them or do spooky stuff or anything. We just talk. And the young folks that have come through, I hear a lot of comments from them. It's like, I didn't know we had, somebody like that lived here. Did you hear that story? They're enthralled with it.
Sure.
They really are. So
now, how do I reserve my spot? Because I know you already have some of the 15-minute tours are already sold out. How do I contact somebody? How does that work?
we have a reservation coordinator.
Wow.
We don't say her name. She doesn't want her name mentioned.
But she knows who she is.
She knows who she is, yes. Our phone number to call is 270-625-2226. And she asks no text, please.
No text. She don't text.
She does not text, but if
You
you
will talk
call,
to a live
you'll
person.
talk to a real person. She carries the schedule around with her starting, I think, beginning of September.
And you better show up if you make that reservation.
Well, we would like for you to.
Or you could get haunted.
Yeah.
We'll get
We take reservations ahead of time. We don't take ticket payments ahead of time. So you pay when you get
bring
there.
your money when
Bring
you
your
get
money
there.
when you
Just
come.
bring cash.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
check or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we will take
We will
donations.
and we
People
do.
have
You're
to
not
have 'em.
opposed to
And,
tipping.
Well, we have had donations from people and we had some walk up there and just give a donation and never go through the tour.
Now, where does where do the funds go?
The funds go to help the Genealogy Society.
There you go.
And our total function for that part is to assist the genealogy library.
Gotcha.
So everything that we make is used to help. Either we've bought books before, we've bought file cabinets.
We bought a computer.
One time,
or we tried to. I think the library ended up buying it.
Yeah, microfilm cabinet.
Yeah.
We just try to, it's
That's
all
a
for the
pretty
benefit.
amazing place. Genealogy library here. That's kind of a hidden secret for some people. That's quite extensive. I mean, I would put that up against many other
It's
surrounding
as
communities.
good as there
It's
is,
as
and
good
for
as-
the size town we got, it's better than most.
Yeah. We
That's
have
amazing.
a very extensive collection, not just Western Kentucky, but throughout the whole state, the surrounding states. We even have
Because
some.
you have folks come in all the time from outside the
everywhere.
area. They're research. Like we said earlier, there's only so much you could do on the internet with your computer. Sometimes you want to go get one of those heavy books, and you need to go look at something.
Exactly.
And you get to look at if it's there, you get to look at the exact record. You're seeing the real thing.
Yes.
And
So there's no doubt.
We're hoping one of these days. There's a fairly expensive piece of machinery, and we're hoping one of these days that we can get it that may help us preserve these large books to a digital what do you
Scanner.
call it?
It's
a
a
scanner.
digital
But you would
scanner.
be a heck of a scanner for those big books.
Isn't that, yeah.
It's
Well, they've-
library. It's geared towards research libraries, and it's kind of like it's my project that I would really like to see us get one of these one day.
But you're looking at thousands of dollars.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's,
No, they don't give those away.
No.
But
no.
in light of yesterday's events,
Yeah.
if that water had gotten in that room, there's a lot of very, very old books that could have been damaged.
If you had them
But
digital,
if we
then
had 'em
somebody could have
digital,
a
Well, at
hard
least
drive
help.
off-site.
It would at least help.
At least the information would not be lost. But we
Gotcha.
don't want the books to be ruined.
No,
So,
absolutely not. So $5 a person,
$5
Saturday night. Our money's helping the Genealogy Society, help the Genealogy Library. The number again to make our reservation.
270-625-2226.
625-2226.
And if anybody wants to be a guide,
yeah.
yes. If you want to be a guide, you can contact me. I'll give you my number.
Okay.
It's 625-3879.
Okay.
Or come see me at the Cat's Tail Bookstore. I'll be in tomorrow and Friday. Or show up at the cemetery tomorrow night at 5 o'clock for the walkthrough.
At the mausoleum, there's a parking lot there. And the people that know the cemetery know where it is. They could be there at 5 tomorrow afternoon.
Meet at the mausoleum.
We're going to.
That's something you don't hear every day.
Yeah,
That's true.
meet me at the
And
mausoleum.
just around us. But yeah, meet me at the mausoleum instead of the pole.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then we'll go around the course and show the guides where they're going to be walking. It's a lot easier if they do get there now. Some of them may not be able to, but the ones who have done it before pretty much know the drill. Although the course never follows the same path every year, it follows close. And this is one of those things when we started it that we just didn't know how it was going to turn out. We didn't make a provision for parking. First year we done it was just something else.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah, and
That's awesome.
We had. I forgot how many people showed up.
Over 300.
Over 300 showed up.
You're
and
like,
some
holy
people,
moly.
Yeah, and we didn't have any
have-
provision for anything except taking money and walking around.
After 10 years,
Yeah.
you know a little bit more about what to expect.
And we're still learning.
Every year we find something else that
Well,
we can improve on.
I tell you what, you improved on the weather. Because 55 Saturday.
that's gonna be a lot better than 2
Perfect
years
weather
ago.
for a ghost walk.
That'll be
Thank you,
hopeful.
Maggie. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
thanks
it.
to all the volunteers with the Genealogy Society and all your actors and guides. I know they just do it because they love this area and the community and
That's
the
true.
cause. So.
Well, it takes over 40 people to put this on, and everybody donates their time.
That's awesome.
So it's a good thing. It's
All
a good
right.
thing.
Sounds good.
Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz is the place to shop for delicious homemade